Every so often, I think it's worth standing back and trying to dissect Vladimir Putin's mounting failures in his Ukraine special operation, particularly his reliance on unconventional alliances and foreign troops, and to assess the trajectory of the conflict as it heads into 2025. Putin's use of North Korean troops in Kursk underscores the desperation stemming from Russia's catastrophic manpower loss, over 700,000 soldiers, according to recent estimates. And this deployment has nevertheless yielded tragic results, and reports of over 3,000 North Korean casualties, with entire units obliterated by Ukrainian special operations and artillery, paints a grim picture, with stories of nurses captured on telephone talking about the numbers of casualties being brought into Russian hospitals. The shocking footage of abandoned North Korean soldiers, some wounded, some left to die, underscores both their lack of preparation and the cruelty of their Russian counterparts, who prioritize advancement over human lives. And such scenes breed resentment and whispers of mutiny among North Korean ranks, which signals a potential collapse of morale and a failure of this relationship. Russia's reliance on North Korea to do its dirty work is a symptom of a much larger problem, and domestically Putin faces dwindling enthusiasm for his war effort. Recruitment drives targeting prisoners, ethnic minorities, migrants have strained the cohesion of his society. Foreign fighters from places like Yemen and Nepal, lured by promises of citizenship and money, face similar fates to the North Koreans: disillusion, exploitation, casualties in the meat grinder. Even within Russia's traditional forces, desertion is skyrocketing. Data leaks reveal over 19,000 absent soldiers from the southern military district alone. And Putin's invasion of another mass mobilization, Putin's attempts to avoid another mass mobilization, betray his fear of internal backlash. Yet this hesitation exacerbates Russia's manpower deficit. For all its bluster, Russia's military strategy is flawed. Incremental territorial gains in the Donbass come at the cost of significant casualties and material losses. Trump is doing a question and answer session at the moment and talking about these huge buildings that have been left destroyed. They are rubble. He said the world has not seen such devastation since the end of World War II. Over $3 billion destroyed of equipment in the last month alone. And these gains that Russia thinks it's making, while juxtaposed with an unrelenting Ukrainian resistance bolstered by NATO support, suggests a stalemate rather than victory. Moreover, Ukrainian incursions into regions like Kursk reveal the fragility of Russian defences and the ingenuity of the Ukrainian forces. Ukraine knows what it's fighting for. Russia has no idea. The Russians are demoralised by this mad war. For what? For Putin's for Putin's reputation. How can you possibly fight for the reputation of somebody who's hiding in a fridge? We know what that's like with Boris Johnson, but in the case of Putin, he's hiding in the fridge and decaying. Putin can't be moved because you'd have to have trains with special freezer compartments. If you move Putin from the fridge, you'd need a bucket of water. He would be moved in buckets, not in any sensible format. Putin abandoned humanity long ago, and the way this war drags on is a testimony to that abandon. Whether he's dead or whether he's just slinking around in the in the cellars of the Kremlin doesn't make any difference, frankly. The Ukrainian incursions will continue, whether that's literally taking over part of Kursk or whether it's with drones and missiles. While these actions haven't brought Russia to the negotiating table, they've shattered the illusion of invulnerability and forced Moscow to redirect resources away from offensive operations. Moscow and Russia is desperate, which is why planes are being knocked out of the sky. Because Moscow and Russia is desperate and anxious and guilt-ridden. And eventually, that guilt, that inability to live with what they've done, will get to the heart of the Kremlin. Economically, Putin faces mounting challenges. Sanctions have weakened Russia's capacity to sustain its war machine. Reports of ammunition shortages, the slow replacement of lost tanks, the dependence on outdated Soviet-era weaponry highlight the strain. And the West, particularly the EU, has shown remarkable resolve, tightening sanctions while providing Ukraine with long-range missiles and air defense systems. Putin's desperation, his desperate pursuit of alliances, trading technology for manpower with Pyongyang or arming Houthis in Yemen, indicates a leader scrambling to retain relevance on the global stage, and yet we see in Syria. And these actions further alienate Russia from the international community. Looking ahead, several scenarios emerge. This war continues, this war of attrition continues, with Russia's current approach likely to lead to prolonged stalemates. And while Putin avoids a full mobilization, the reliance on foreign troops and undertrained recruits cannot replace a well-organized army. The internal dissension, the reports of desertions, mutinies, mismanagement, suggest the Russian military's cohesion is under threat. If morale continues to plummet, we could see large-scale defections and localized rebellions, and people are asking across Russia, what is the point? Even those who wanted this special military operation in the first place are asking, what is the point of this continued attrition? And the return of Donald Trump to the White House in 2025 could redefine the global landscape. Trump's promises to end the war might embolden Putin to push for a ceasefire under more favorable terms, but Ukraine will likely resist any deal that legitimizes Russia's territorial claims. Ukraine's ability to sustain its counteroffensive depends on Western support. If NATO continues to supply advanced weapons and enforce sanctions, Kyiv might regain lost ground or force Russia into a disadvantageous negotiation. But overall, we have to remember, if Russia wants to end this, it can end it. It can blame Putin. And if Putin is genuinely dead, hold a funeral, get rid of him, cast everything like the scapegoat onto this coffin, parade him through the streets with tears and mourning, and then pull the plug on this dreadful operation, on this awful special military war of attrition, this awful invasion, this hideous battle for his reputation. His reputation is rightly under 6 feet of earth, with a tombstone that people will scrape their feet against. Putin has his place in history, and it's not something to be proud of. Putin's failures, his military, economic, and diplomatic failures, reveal a regime on shaky ground, and his reliance on foreign troops and coercive recruitment is a stopgap, not a strategy. As casualties mount and morale crumbles, his grip on power weakens. And now is the time for the Kremlin to say, enough, we'll blame it on him. He's dead anyway. He doesn't care. This is his responsibility. He started it. Let's have the funeral. Invite the world dignitaries to that spectacle. And then draw a line. Draw a line. For Ukraine, and if he's not dead, send him off to Rubliovka to become a near neighbour of in permanent exile in a sort of living prison with President Assad and his wife. For Ukraine, the path ahead remains fraught. With a united international front, targeted sanctions, robust military support, Kyiv stands a chance to outlast Putin's aggression. The question is not if Putin's strategy will fail, but how long it will take, and what price will be paid by those caught in the crossfire. But Putin is over, and we have to recognize that fact. Putin is over. Putin is dead.